YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and Kurt, do not edit this out. Before we get started today is a really fun day, because you guys have been probably thinking I wasn't going to do this, but I am, and that is the clutch update from last year, the last clutch from 2018. So clutch, this is where it gets really confusing, because we have 17, 18, and 19 at play. It's 2019 now. We're going to update a clutch from 2018 that starts with number 17. So 18, 17 will be the clutch we're updating. But before we do that, I do have to share a political view with you guys. I don't try to talk politics on here because this really isn't the forum of it, and it's reptiles. And so, like, I don't really care what your politics are. If you're into reptiles, you're a friend of mine, right? But recently, my wife and I went on our long-awaited honeymoon, near anniversary trip, and we went to see a lot of history in the nation's capital and in Williamsburg. It was a wonderful trip. But one place we didn't get to go, we put in for a tour of the White House about 6 months early, which was lost by our representative's office. So, yes, Representative Marshall from the state of Kansas, I will never vote for you. Nobody else should vote for you either. You had one shot at customer service. One chance. The only interaction I'm ever going to have with your office, you had one chance, and you screwed it up. And when you got a chance to make it right, you went, I didn't even get a call from them. It was just, oh, yeah, there was like an intern working on that, and like they left, and yeah, we don't know where it is. So, yeah, we didn't call you or nothing. No. Did I get an apology call? Anything to say, hey, you know, I understand, shit happens, we're all human. No. Nothing. So, I am never going to vote for Representative Roger Marshall, and if you live in his district, I recommend you don't vote for him either. Now, Senator Jerry Moran, hell of a dude, tried to fix it. Couldn't get the White House done on short notice, hooked us up with the Library of Congress, other things. So he tried to pick up the ball for his counterpart who sucks at his job. You suck at your job. Okay, now I'm done with that. Let's move on. See, that's the only reason I've been talking about political, because just customer service is key. And like a phone call, a letter, a hey, I'm sorry. No. So you know what? That's what I think of that guy. All right, moving on. And now to our clutch update, and that is the Kansas Congressional District. Please actually email his office and spam it as many times as you can and tell him what a horrible customer service job they do. I would be really happy with that. It'll go along with about the 150 I send a week. All right, I really don't do that, but I'm going to now. We're going to move on. So we're going to start with baby 181701. If I can find it. There it is. 181701. And this one is right here. And you're going to see a big difference in size. So this is a nice, healthy little baby, and this is just a pastel. So straight pastel, single gene snake, and of course pastel, you know, we all know what it does. It's a nice brightening gene. And look at the weight on that thing. It's almost 200 grams already, and that is because it's been with us a long time. And you'll see why these were with us so long and why we waited so long to do this. You're taking off on me. Why are we doing that? You know, and a lot of people say snakes are terrible, and they compare snakes to politicians. Such an unfair comparison for the snake. I trust this more than I do many a politician. But let's see if you're a girl or a boy. Appears to be a little girl. So a female pastel, and believe it or not, because I was waiting on some things on this, I never logged the sexes on a lot of these babies yet, so I wanted to do that. Now 181701, and you can see she was perfectly healthy. That is not going to be the case for everything, which is why this clutch took us a little longer. Speaking of that, that brings us to 181702, which is here. This snake was the reason this clutch update took so long. So, let me give you the story on it. And yeah, I've told you guys time and time again, one of the things we want to do is we want to be very open and very honest with our experiences in this hobby. And not everything is sunshine and roses. It's just not, guys. And anybody who's going to represent that this hobby is always good and that everything works out and you always hit the odds and every baby lives and it's just woo is lying to you. And no, before somebody assumes I'm talking about any person individual, I am not. That is just an in general statement. People do show that a lot of times because they want to be upbeat. They want to bring people to the hobby that way. And I think that's good. I think we need that. But we also need a dose of reality. And the reality is when you breed animals, I don't care what you breed, snakes, sheep, goats, cattle, cats, dogs, whatever you choose to breed, when you're doing it at a certain level, at a certain production, you're going to have failures. And if you don't think that's true, then you are not living in reality. Go to any hospital in America, not every even newborn human being survives, and that's with every medical thing they can possibly do. It's just not in the cards. Unfortunately, this snake was born. It was born small. It failed to thrive. I've been assist feeding it for months and months and months, trying to get it to take on its own. It would show some signs of doing well, like I wouldn't have to force it. It would actually be just an assist on small meals. I wasn't assisting it every week. We were trying to get it to feed on its own, but we were making sure that it was getting nourishment in it. It started dropping weight, even though it was getting nourishment, you know. And I know a lot of you, when I talked about the sunshine and roses, probably thought I was talking about Mr. Barczyk, and I really wasn't, because he even did a video on that, on an animal that he lost as a baby, and talked about it losing weight, even though it was getting nourishment. And I saw the exact same thing here, which is definitely not a good sign. It wasn't really passing waste on its own very well. We were having to help palpate waste out of it. We literally did everything we could do, and I'd actually come to the decision that this baby was going to need to be euthanized if it didn't eat on its own. It was going to have one more chance to take a meal, and if it didn't, then I was going to go ahead and euthanize it. Before I could euthanize it, it had passed away. So it did die on its own. Very unfortunate. It was a female pinstripe. And the reason I'm even bringing up what it was and the gender is a female pinstripe. I probably would have priced it like 90 or $100, probably $100, a little more than a pastel or a spider, but not much. So $100, let's say. And Kurt can tell you how many hours you think I put into that snake, or we put into that snake.
I don't know. It was maybe an hour every feed night or less.
So, I mean, I probably have 15 hours in that animal, you think?
Yeah.
20 hours in that animal? And so if I have 15 hours in that animal between the feed nights, the having to assist poop, you know, all these other things that we were doing and just checking on it, plus the cost of food and everything else, to sell that animal at $100. And people will say, oh, you're in this for the money. I want you to do that math. You know, we weren't really, remember, whatever we make from it, I have to split, right? And pay so we weren't going to make any money. I was putting in that much effort because I gave a shit about the snake. As a matter of fact, I made the decision to euthanize because I gave a shit about the snake. It's one of the harder decisions you'll ever make in breeding. And if I'm bluntly honest, I probably should have made that choice a few weeks prior. I tend to try to hold on longer than I should, and I know that. But I just want to pull for that underdog, you know. But the thing is, I made that decision because I felt it wasn't going to pull through unless it took a meal on its own, and I felt it was at the point where it was suffering, and its quality of life was not going to ever improve, and then I was just likely dragging on the inevitable, which ended up to be true because it did pass. So, this snake, though, is why, because we didn't want to do the clutch update and say, hey, everything's going great, you know, and not have this snake's story finished. So I wanted to know, is this snake going to survive or was it not? So I could share that story and the struggles we went through to get it there, one way or the other. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way I wanted. But that's why there was such a delay. Number 1702, may God have mercy on your snake's soul. So that brings us to 1703, which didn't pass away, thankfully. And this one is another one that we had 3 snakes in here that, you know, you'll see it's not as big as that pinstripe was. This is a little lemon blast, and it's picky, so it's not as big. It's about 40 grams behind. It does eat on its own. I did have to assist it originally, but it is a picky little snake, and it will still skip a meal occasionally. Oh, got a little skin right there on the tail. Got that off. And it's popped me a few times. But it is done really well. And don't poop on me, please. You had that kind of feeling. And this looks to be, double check that one more time. a little female lemon blast. So if you're looking for that, there she is. She is a really pretty snake. She's held her colors good so far. You can really see the pastel and the pinstripe influences going on. Believe it or not, this is actually the first lemon blast I'd ever hatched. We'd put her pinstripe, like I say, to banana the year before. We tried to put it to banana this year, but one lesser pastel pairing from 2017, not even from 18, ended up being the father. So she is a little female. She's doing really good now, although a little picky. We'll put her back. Whoop. And then we'll go to 1704, which is over here. This one is kind of the creme de la creme of this clutch. And that is a, let's see here, make sure we're on the kingpin. So what this is, put that on there. See, it's done a lot better too, 123 grams. It was also a slow starter, but this is I take that back. This is 181704. This isn't a kingpin. I looked at the wrong line. I'm like, that don't look like a kingpin. This is a male. I'll double check it for you. But it is a lesser kingpin, so I think they'll call it an emperor pin. But it's a lesser pinstripe pastel. That's what the genetics are in this snake. Lesser pinstripe pastel. Beautiful, beautiful snake. Let's go ahead and double check that sex, although I do believe it to be a male. Don't you bite me. You're thinking about it. Yep, there's a little peens. Whoop, back in. So definitely a little boy. And he's doing pretty good. Also a little bit picky. Was also a slow starter. I think some of the slow starting has to do with the retained sperm. That's my theory. Other than, I don't have any proof on that. It's just a theory because this is literally our first ever retained sperm clutch. And that'll bring us to 181705, which should be the kingpin. Ooh, there it is. It's amazing. I went by what I wrote. Yeah, that looks better. So this is a little kingpin here. Put that on the scale, and you can see it's at 96, so also a slow starter. So this whole clutch was a little bit slow with the exception of two. And so anyway, 95 grams. We'll go ahead and check the gender on this little one. Oop, give me your tail. Oh, I heard you hiss at me. Looks to be a little girl. So it's still a kingpin even though it's a girl. You think they'd call it like these kingpins and girls queen pins, but that is not how it works. You can see it's like, I'm angry. You looked under my hood. I don't like that. We'll put you back up. Go there. Let me log that sex really fast so I don't forget it. We did do pretty good on the gender odds on this clutch. That's good. 181706 is the last one. And this is one that I can tell you did not miss a meal. Wait, there's not 1706. Where are you at? Oh, here. This is one that did not miss any meals. That chunk there ate like a beast. So you can see a great difference in the size of the ones that took off and the ones that were a little slow. I'm going to bet this is almost 300. 289, so I was pretty close. The hand scale, I had a little bit of a thumb on it. And let's see, male or female. What do you bet, Kurt?
No.
Odds would say so. You're giving me some muscle retention, though. That appears to be a little girl. So another little girl. So heavy on the girls, which is good, right? I guess I probably shouldn't set you right there where I just squeezed out your pee. We'll wipe that down for you. And then we'll show you off, huh? There, much better, a little happier. And what this is of course, this would be a lesser. And a pretty nice lesser at that. I mean, very blushed, but I don't believe it to be a lesser pastel. I I don't think it is. I would expect the head to be more blushed out, but really nice looking. Lesser, really good color. Excuse me, you shouldn't cough on camera, but hell, sometimes you can't help it. So anyway, that is kind of what we had out of that clutch. Originally there were 7 eggs, and 1 egg did die in the eggs. We did have 1 dead egg on this, which brings our totals. I will share our totals with you for the year. Now remember, in these totals I'm about to share, for full disclosure, where we put that water jug at, Kurt? Oh, right there. We'll give her a little more water while I'm at it. And she's ready. And somebody better buy her soon whenever we put her up for sale, because she needs a new enclosure. She is outgrowing her baby tub. Big old girl. I know, but you're not going to be living in there much longer. And if one way or the other, either somebody's going to take you home or I'm going to move you to a bigger tub. Whoop. So, but I want to share these numbers. So with full disclosure though, like that pinstripe that I said passed away, it counts in the live hatch number because it was born alive. It wasn't dead in the egg, or didn't die in the egg, or wasn't dead in the egg tub. So it does count as live birth for how I track statistics. But I want to share that so everybody's on the same page. So for the year, since this was our last clutch update, we had 121 healthy eggs, and that is out of 17 pairings. Let's do a little math, because I think it's important to keep some of this into perspective. So what does that mean? What did we average? Well, we averaged 7.11 healthy eggs per clutch. It seems like most people say 6 eggs is about the average number of eggs per clutch in ball pythons. Based on something I've read, we averaged 7.11 healthy eggs. Now, we did do 6 total slugs. That's a lot of slugs, right? So with you take these slugs and put them in for an average total of eggs, it came out to 7.47. I really don't need to do the math. I already did it. It's on my sheet. And so our slug rate was 5%. So 5% of all of our eggs were slugs, out of the total 7.47 per clutch. Live babies, out of those 121 healthy eggs laid, this is where we get our live hatch rate. So the slugs are not included in the live hatch rate. They were never fertile eggs. I just tracked them because I think I may be able to work on that too. But we take our number of healthy eggs and we look at our live babies to come up with our percentage of what hatched out. So this could be eggs that, died in development, that maybe we could do something better to save, maybe not. Can't fix all of them, but we want to do as best we can. We had 115 live babies that we hatched out this year. So a percent live hatch, when you look at healthy eggs, is 95%. If you look at total number of eggs, including slugs, it'd be at 90%. So that is our 2017 numbers. So when I talk about full disclosure, we were the first place I know of, we've been doing it for years, to cut eggs live. I'll let you see the live results. I don't know if anybody else does the updates on the clutches like we do. Maybe. That's not done live, so it's pretty easy to do. I don't know of anybody else, but there may be some out there that will share with you the actual full year numbers so you can see their production rates, their healthy hatch rates, their number of egg rates. And why is that all important? Well, when people will tell you things like, oh, what they're doing, you can't do that. This is bad. There's my numbers. I don't have to sit there and argue. There's my numbers. If the national average is 6 eggs per clutch, I average almost 7.5. 7.11 healthy. If the national slug rate's like 8 or 9%, we're at 5. If it's at 2%, we're still at 5. Like, that's my numbers. Our healthy hatch rate's 95%. There's my numbers. And so we track that and we share that because numbers, like when you're talking about research and learning and improving the hobby, what we do and what everybody else does, and where we can learn from others and they can learn from us, and we can all share that in a nice controlled environment, rather than trying to say, well, I'm right because I'm right, yada, yada, yada. Numbers and evidence and research back it up. Numbers. All right, Kurting, you want to add?
No.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll be doing these really soon again because we've already cut, I think, 5 clutches for 2019, so get ready to start seeing those clutch updates too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.